All right. Welcome, Wildcards, to another Savage Universe stream. Bear with me as I'm learning the technology here. I'm here with Jeff Gordon. Jeff, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight for the stream.
Thanks for having me. Voice is a little crackly, but hopefully you can understand me.
You're coming through loud and clear. So the reason we're bringing Jeff on to talk about Savage Universe is the point of Savage Universe is to build bridges with the members of the community. And part of that community is the one, the only Chris Landauer. Welcome. So for those of you who don't know, Savage.us is an amazing tool and resource for Savage Worlds players and GMs. And Jeff, why don't you talk to us about Savage.us in case somebody doesn't know what it is?
Well, just in case there's that one or two people who don't know what Savage US is. Savage US is a web app which allows folks to make settings, campaigns, characters, even share your settings with other folks, so they can make characters under your settings and your rules. So then you can print and share to your GM, and your GM can do whatever he or she needs to do to know what your character has, and makes it all quick and easy to make anything. I've heard of some folks making entire campaign in just the course of a night with pre-gens instead of taking 2 or 3 days to do it.
Yeah, it is a extremely functional and useful tool. I've gotten to play around with it. I'm really excited about it. Now, you just added some new functionality. You're updating it, kind of moving forward. Talk about the latest rollout.
The biggest rollout was for the Fantasy Companion, and that was gear enhancements. And I really wish I had done that for the Pathfinder rulebook, because it would have made mastercrafted weapons so much easier than they are now. We actually had to go in, and I have a volunteer, John, can never pronounce his name, but he's a great guy from Hawaii, and he does a lot of my data entry stuff, which is mind-numbingly boring for somebody like me with my ADHD sometimes. But he does a lot of that, and I wish I had that for him there. And we've been kind of going back and fixing that with the Pathfinder stuff. But instead of just having to type in like a sword +1, a pike +1, and then or an acid pike +3, whatever it is, we actually have these enhancements which you can actually put a prefix and a suffix on each of these, and then you could have each little of those enhancements have a mod line, which makes it better or different from just a regular standard weapon.
That's awesome. So it says, like, as a Savage Worlds GM,
look at it, Chris. It's like, yeah, a weaponized ADHD.
Yeah. And then this is another Chris who is definitely not a fake person. Says so right there. Definitely not a bot of any sort. So what caused you to want to put together this?
I am a architect by mind, by nature. I like to build things. And the easiest thing for me to do is just to sit in front of the TV with my wife and just sit there and code away while we're watching mind-numbingly boring or mind-numbingly not so in-depth shows such as sitcoms and whatnot. I can still go back and watch whatever we need to if I miss something funny, but I usually don't miss too much from those shows anyway. She's a big Friends thing, and we've seen that series probably 4 or 5 times, the whole series 4 or 5 times together. So it's just kind of sit there and chat away and be right next to my wife all evening. It's just nice.
Yeah, I do that. My wife and I, The Office is our show for that. And I always end up having my iPad or my journal in front of me, and I'm constantly writing as this is going on, because it's reached that point where it's kind of moved from system 1 of my brain into system 2. And so like I'm filling in the gaps of the shows I'm watching.
Absolutely. It's my wife is neither a coder nor a role player. She likes games, but she's had a bad experience with a previous boyfriend 20 years ago, that she doesn't prefer the role playing things because she was demeaned a bit. It's like, well, why didn't you check for traps first? It was very condescended to by him. It wasn't very nice. It makes my job a lot harder. However, she doesn't know what the code is. When she sees it, it's like, your mind just amazes me. It's one of the things she says. And I don't even see the code anymore, honestly. All I see is blonde, brunette, redhead. So, yeah. Matrix, guys.
That's
Matrix.
Right. It's like you and the guy,
I'm too, for Cypher.
So Clint said that he made all of the characters for Date Night, last night's Necessary Evil stream in Savage.us.
Clint has been a user for the 4 years it's been alive. I see both him and Jody on all the time.
Awesome. I just played around today a little bit looking at the initiative tracker, and that's
ugly.
But it's ugly. Amazing, right? Especially if you're running it online. That's been one of the problems I had when we were running the Horrid Headstone Hill. Like, I have to have everybody who's not there. Okay, this is your card. This is your card. This is your card. To have something like that functionality is just spectacular. Like, I appreciate all the effort you put in there.
I want to make that much prettier. I did have an update for that, so it's a lot faster. It's almost nearly real time. If you have a browser window here and a browser window here, two different, like Chrome and Firefox looking on thing, it's literally that fast. It's because it's going all the way to the server and all the way back. It's just boom. While before it was actually polling every like 2 to 3 or 100 to 200 milliseconds. It seemed there's definitely a lag, but you don't have that now. So
there was really like a visible lag, like
a visible lag, right? Yeah.
So you are the mind behind Savage.us, and I always like asking this question of developers: what's the thing in Savage.us that you have in there and you wish more people would know about or utilize? What's sort of, the cheat code, if you will, the special thing that you're like, why aren't more people engaging with this aspect of the program?
I really can't think of too terribly much. It's just my time to be able to get in all the data is really hard. But let's see, what's one part? Because people are using the bestiary, people are using the initiative cards. The campaigns are not being as used as much as I thought they would. We probably only have maybe 90 or 100 people using them that I can tell, but I'm not sure.
Chucky T says the export to Roll20.
Okay. I'm not too sure. I haven't used Roll20 in 3 years, so I couldn't tell you Foundry is. But the export to Roll20 is important, but I have to be able to talk to the person who is making the Roll20 setup, so I know what format to send it to them, so they can copy and paste it. So if we can, somebody can shoot me a line for that, and we can work with that again, because I have an exports for Roll20, but things have changed.
Well, Chucky T says save so much time is a huge feature. So Savage Universe is really about highlighting our licensees, our people who are out there putting together fun things for Savage Worlds. And one of the things you and I talked about over email was how this could be a pretty useful tool for people who are trying to put together their fan project or their as an ace or a swag member. In your mind, I know. What's the benefit? Like, how would you sell somebody who is looking at this and saying, how is this as a licensee going to help me?
Excellent as a licensee, because if you have a setting, you can make all of your custom gear, your custom edges, your custom weapons, your custom hindrances. Everything can be created and modelined into your own custom setting. And if you do that, I have the ability to basically get your custom setting, not pull it out, but copy it out of all the work you've done and put it into a book, and just put it in a book, and it is now something for everybody to connect with, to actually select. If, of course, I had to have permission from you to do that, but it's just a little tool for me to do that, because I like to have my partners in writing. Okay, so and so has the
has the ability or the right to pull this stuff out.
Just a little one-liner says, all right, you can use this book's stuff for character creation purposes, and then that's it. That's just CYA and CTA there.
Yeah.
Just something simple.
Christian said that it was awesome to work with you when he was working on the importer for the Foundry VTT.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we worked really closely to get that working, and it just was becoming more and more difficult to have it sync up. We can do the imports, but you have to basically re-import everything every time. But for the initial character creation, fantastic. Because you just have to remember to to level up your advances at both sides once you're done. Because I'm actually in an online game with my locals, but we only play in Foundry VTTQ. So we have one guy who lives all the way in Lubbock, which is a 5-hour drive, still in Texas, by the way.
I'm in the DFW area, so
exactly. Yep.
we drove down here from Colorado, and I think of the 11 hours, only 3 of it was not in Texas.
Yeah, I live in little PA, Wichita Falls, Texas.
Okay,
2.5 hours north of you. Yep. Well, an hour and a half north of you.
Yeah, we drive through there every time we go to we go back to Colorado. We go through Amarillo. There's a lot of love for you, Jeff, in the chat. Shane, let me just kind of scroll through these. We covered Christians. Shane said that one of the best licensees that he's worked with. People are really appreciative of your time and your talents that you've put into this.
It warms my heart to nobody knows who I am until they actually put 2 and 2 together. Like last month or the month before last, we went to Genghis Khan, and nobody had an idea until they say, "Wait, you're the Savage US guy. I love your work."
The man behind the curtain. Yeah,
exactly. I went to the VIP lounge. It's like, okay, why aren't you on this side? When speaking with all the celebs, it's like, I'm not a celeb. I'm just a nerd with some talent.
So John Doom has mentioned this several times. So I'm hoping you can shed some light into this. He says you're also a pretty great colonial Marine. He said he got to play in a game with you. What's the story behind that game? Like, he speaks very highly of that game.
That would be the Aliens game we just played a couple of nights ago, just to see how the Year Zero system SRD was going to go, because they opened the license for the SRD for Year Zero, but that was going to be Brendan Verhalen's Star Anvil Studios, which I'm working closely with lately too. He's been fantastic to work with. He is a very organized, a very amazing people manager. I couldn't do what he does. But no, we've had a really good game with that. It's, even though it's supposed to be a game where it's based on horror and you're not supposed to really survive at the end of it all, but we somehow did, even with all the aliens trying to eat our faces.
Well done. It's got 2 different modes, right? Like, we're going to play a long-term campaign and really enjoy the universe, and hey, you're stuck in a bottle with a xenomorph, and you're just not going to make it out.
So do we nuke it from orbit? No, we didn't nuke it from orbit. We didn't finish all that off, but I think our characters would have done once we got back on the ship.
It's the only way to be sure. I have that from a very, very high authority. And Chucky T said here, if they've ever had any problems with the site at all they've had to do is mention it, and a short time later that problem is
gone.
I
try to be as reactive as I can, but my time this last couple of years has been kind of wishy-washy. But I do my best to still take care of it, and there are still a lot of bugs, especially I know in the Rifts area. It's I put that together too hastily, albeit self-admittedly, and it's just a lot of work, and there's a lot of bells and whistles that sit there, will change things and really break the character the way it should be in the code, because either A, the framework is a little weird, or B, the heroic journeys, which are completely random, and there's so many variables to take a hold of. We'll throw it up, and it works pretty well for a lot of Rift characters, but some of the weird where you'll have X amount of psychic abilities if you have this and this, but you have plus 2 more if you do this, but subtract 1 from here. It gets really tongue twisting, eye crossity.
As long as Savage US doesn't accidentally develop sentience while trying to make a Rifts character, we should be okay.
It should be okay. Yeah, it should be okay.
So what do you have on the horizon for adding functionality wise? I know you just mentioned cleaning up some of the Rift stuff. I know you've just added a ton of great usability to this site. What else is on the to-do list?
The next big thing is going to be for the advanced player's guide, and that's going to be racial options, where you'll have like the elves will have either the stealth +1 agility or +1, I can't remember off the top of my head. You'll have that option that will rename the elf slightly. So you'll be able to choose those abilities like there's be 4 different types of L's in the advanced player's guide. Once you actually are able to choose one of those, 2 of those 4 options, if I'm remembering off the top of my head. But that's the next big thing, and it's not really that hard. It's just me testing it and getting it going is the big deal. Plus, there's going to be another UI interface overhaul pretty soon too. Because I was in the middle of rewriting everything in Rust, which was is a very low-level programming language, which you can do the back end, the front end, and everything in between. But it's a lot of headway and work, and the technology used for us is not quite. Give me a second. The technology there is not there for as good as it is for pure JavaScript for the browser. It's really, really fast, but if you're moving around strings or anything else like that, strings being like words and word clips, it gets a slow because it has to do some translation in between, and that may be fixed in the next couple of years. But I didn't have time to wait for that, and I'm just cleaning up and making it faster and faster. In fact, I don't know if anybody's noticed in the last month that the back end of Savage US is probably 10 times faster than it was beforehand. Things are just coming up amazingly fast. Like that was from what I learned in my Rust work, and I translated over to what I'm using in TypeScript for those folks who have an idea of what goes on in the back end languages. So it's much faster. It uses a lot more memory than the Rust version does, but that's the nature of JavaScript.
Yeah. So you are well known within the Savage community, but for those who may not have know a lot about your history, how did you get into Savage Worlds? Like, what was the impetus? You said what was the impetus for starting Savage.us, but what was it that drew you, or even today? Like, what is the thing about Savage Worlds that you love the most?
Oh, it's so fast, so easy to work with. It's just it's so forgiving and unforgiving at the same time. I love the fact that I had the chance to have a chance for a character to always roll a 43 on my soak roll, but I always had that chance of that big critter hitting me with 67 points of damage and I might be dead. But
yeah,
that's the way it is. It's like playing poker with the dice gods.
Yeah. Probably one of those baked in Deadlands isms that just kind of
absolutely
exists as a meta layer of Savage Worlds.
Absolutely.
When you were going through and programming Savage US, was there anything that surprised you about Savage Worlds that you were like, oh, I've been doing this wrong, but now that I've looked at it, for building it within, Savage.us, I suddenly am like, oh, here's what the rules
Not
is written.
Especially, no, okay. Because the character creation is so straightforward in the first place. I don't really miss too much when it comes to character creation. I've got a really, really strong set of the rule, a strong hold of knowledge of the actual play rules. But my character creation stuff is a lot better than the actual in play because there's nothing to program in the in play. Otherwise, you're playing a video game. There's no need
exactly.
Because I don't even play video games because I'm in front of a computer for 12 or 14 hours a day for work in Savage US. So it's just I don't even want to bother with it.
Why would I continue to do the same thing that makes sense? Final question: are you playing any Savage Worlds games right now? And if so, what are you playing in Savage Worlds?
We are playing Savage Pathfinder with my local group with that +1 on Foundry, and I love it to death. I'm playing a bard who's basically doubling as a healer.
Awesome.
Always seems to get hurt in the wrong place whenever because he's not very tough. So when he gets hit, you guys like, okay, I'm just going to sit down for a bit, and then the Orc Barbarian finish off everybody else, and then I'll have to heal myself at a -2 for my wound, then I'll start healing everybody else. It's silly stuff. That's good stuff.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, I thank you for taking time out to come and hang with us. And for those of you who are licensees, get on Savage.us. Start filling out your campaign. Even if you're just a GM like me, that's how I started. Put your campaign into Savage.us. It makes it easier for your players. It makes it easier for you. And who knows, one day you may wake up and go, hey, I've been doing this long enough. I need to export this because I want to put it on the Savage Worlds Adventurers Guild, or put it on in an ACE product, and it just acts as a repository that slowly grows the more you use it for your game, until you'll be surprised how quickly you have the basis and the framework for one of our licenses.
Absolutely. That's the other thing that I was working on a project for the OpenD6 system at one point until Wizards of the Coast scared everybody about the gaming license. That actually will print out, which I could probably port this over pretty easy, but basically print out all of your custom edges, hindrances, and everything else to like Word or an HTML format, which you can paste into Word. It makes things a lot easier for formatting for your layout folks, and that's going to be an easy thing. I just really haven't had anybody ask for that yet, but it's something I've done for the other OpenD6 system that I've passed on to another developer.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it sounds like a cool feature, especially for
real easy to do.
Yeah,
real
awesome.
easy to do.
Well, we won't take up too much more of your time. I know you've had a week, and so we're gonna sign off here. I'm gonna let me get Jody's comment up there.
Hey, aw, 200
Jody,
and going. Yep.
Yeah, 200 characters and going. That is amazing.
That's not the big one. I think the big one is like 350, if I recall.
Holy cow!
I just recently looked at that because somebody asked, I bet I have the most characters. Yeah, you're not in the top 10. It was like 190 something. Yeah, Jody and is higher than yours is.
Tune in tomorrow night on all of the PEG channels for Office Hours. Landauer will be interviewing, I think, myself for Office Hours. I'll be in the other seat this time tomorrow. And Jeff, thanks for all you do for Savage Worlds, for Savage.us, and for taking some time out and coming and hanging out for Savage Universe.
Absolutely, Jay, and thank you so much.
All right, everyone. We will see you all tomorrow. Until then, get out, play some Savage Worlds, get some gaming in, roll some dice. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks.